Hello. Gamarjova. I'm practicing my Georgian. Trying to. Anyway, today we're going to talk, I'm going to tell you about my story and how this 10K factor changed my life. I totally agree with pretty much every point that everyone was making here. I mean, with Matthias and Heidi and every other speaker here. But I'm taking a little bit different angle in my presentation. But first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm 32 years old. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor in different technology startups. But my first company I started at the age of 16 when I was still in high school. It was a sound equipment rental company. I was doing discotheques and raves and underground parties. So I rented out sound equipment and lighting equipment to these parties. And this made actually a very good living for me. I didn't take money from my parents. I bought a car at the age of 17 without having license. I had pretty much the first mobile phone because I had to take the orders in my school. But anyway, this was the starting of it, and I got the taste of what it means to make your own money and how to be an entrepreneur and being responsible for different people and giving jobs to some people and so on. It was fun. Later on, I moved to Moscow, studied in the Moscow University of International Relations. Then I lived in Moscow for some time. But what's more important, since 2005, when I joined a venture capital company, MTVP, I started investing and taking more interest in technology startups and technology companies. And this is pretty much where it all started for me. Since then, I have founded 6 companies. Well, together with this first company, which I founded in high school. And the matter of fact is that most of them have failed. I don't take it as a personal insult. If I would never have achieved what I have achieved today. But the point is that always take the failing process as a learning process. But let's talk about one of the successful examples. A company called Cherry. Heidi already mentioned it in her presentation. It was started basically as an analog. I would call it analog, not a copycat. As an analog of Groupon in Baltics. And what Cherry is today, after 3 years after starting it, it has 1 million unique visitors monthly. We employ 200 people across Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and we grew from 0 to 30 million euros turnover this year. I was one of the co-founders of that company, and I would tell that this is the biggest and the most interesting experience I have had in my life. You never get this kind of experience in working in an office somewhere for a big company. When you start something on your own with your own hands, it's totally different. And that's why the whole program here is encouraging you to start your own business, to try. Getting now to this 10K factor, and one of these things that I wanted to test also on you is to tell you about the story about the one survey that was run about secret of success. And different kinds of people, poor people, middle class people, and rich people were asked the same question. What do you think, what are the success factors? What made you successful? Or what do you think, what makes rich people successful? And please, I'm going to show you 8 factors now, and try to, in your head, try to think of 3 most important ones that you think makes a person successful. So, is it good education? Connections to the right people? Is it entrepreneurial spirit or courage? Presence of initial capital, that you don't start with a 0 in your pocket, but you have to have some capital. Is it hard work? Is it fortune or good luck? and we will compare it to the real results of this survey. Ready? Okay. So let's look at the factors. Let's first look at the poor people, what poor people said. Poor people said that the most important thing to be successful is connections, cheating, and having initial capital. And now let's look at the rich people. Rich people said that the most important thing is hard work, education, and courage or entrepreneurial spirit. Just kind of just do it attitude. So this is a very big difference. There are none of the factors are duplicated in each of the kind of target groups. So this means that poor people really need to change their mind and attitude towards what is success and how to become successful. But now back to this 10K factor. There's a great book by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers, which basically makes just one very important point. In order to be successful, the only thing that you need is 10,000 hours of experience in certain field. And I totally agree with this. Because when I look at my own past, I started dealing in, let's say, I started learning and investing and founding companies in 2005. Many of them failed. And now the first ones which really became successful happened just in 2010. 5 years passed. And I'm going to give you a little bit more examples about some other people and from other sectors. Beatles, many of you are very young people and maybe don't know Beatles, but hopefully you do. But the point is that Beatles was a very small and unknown band back in the days, back in the 60s. And the big bang or the big story happened after the Beatles went out to Germany to play a lot of music together. So they were invited for to an event where they had to play 8 hours a day and 7 days in a row and several weeks in a row all the time. So they just had to practice together and play different songs, not just a couple of hours as they did in the garage in Liverpool. So that's the story of Beatles. There's another example. Violinists of Berlin Music Academy were divided into 3 groups based on the skills. The stars, the average players, and the worst players. And the people who studied them just started to look and investigate how are these people different? Why some are the stars and some are not? And it turned out that by the age of 20, the stars had 10,000 hours of practice, the average ones had 8,000, and the worst ones had just 4,000 hours of practicing violin playing. Bill Gates. A lot of people think that Bill Gates just happened. He just invented Microsoft and that was the magic moment. No. Bill Gates had been coding for 7 years before he dropped out of Harvard and started Microsoft. Mark Zuckerberg. Again, a lot of people think that Facebook was his, the first and the best thing that he did. No. Mark had actually 5 different companies or products before that, and all of them failed. Facebook was the 5th or 6th one, I can't remember. But the point is that before he founded Facebook, he had been coding for almost 10 years already. So what is 10,000 hours? If we look at this way, 10,000 hours of experience, if you take a regular 8-hour day, it's basically 5 years of experience. And here I'm not talking about just working. It's also learning, it's also studying, reading books, basically being interested in certain topic. And now if you take just another example, which is 2 extra hours per day, this will give you 1 year advantage. So you will reach that 10,000 hours 1 year earlier than the others. Let's jump to conclusions. So probably the most important thing that I would recommend you to do is to work hard. Really work hard. And I'm not talking here to be overstressed and working 20 hours a day and killing yourself. No, I'm talking about being interested in learning certain topic as much as possible. Secondly, learn your area of interest very well. Young people who are jumping from one job to another. I'm trying this for 1 year, then again another year. CVs are long as hell, but in the end of the day, when you take the CV, you don't really understand what the person has been doing. Or what is the topic, or what's the specialization. So you don't get the experience unless you work on certain thing for 5 years. It can be a little bit, let's say, narrower, or it can be a little bit wider, but try to be focused on one thing for 5 years and get your 10,000 hours of experience. Keep your eyes open. We are living in a world of unlimited possibilities. There have never been such good times for starting, for example, a technology business or any other businesses. Those stories about oligarchs and tycoons of 90s who privatized all the oil companies and everything else, I mean, that's a good story to tell your grandchildren perhaps someday. But the point is that we are living in an era where you can start any business. And the main point is not just to be afraid. Which brings me to the fourth point. Don't be afraid to try. Failing is okay. Take failing as a learning process. And fifth point, act fast, and even faster. In the global world, everyone is your competitor, even me. So you need to compete with me if you start an online business in Baltics, for example. And remember, success is not always what you see. So sometimes the cars, the flats, the apartments, the big talk, it's very often just the kind of the upper part of the carrot. So success is always deeper than you think. Dini Madlova, thank you.